Hi, and welcome to Understanding Your Offset Printing Quote. This webinar is packed with helpful ways to save you time, money, and take the mystique out of offset printing. So, what we're going to cover in this session is I'm going to start out and give you an idea of the 10 specifications that you need to get an offset printing quote. Actually, a printing quote for print on demand or offset. It's a 10 specification. It's every printer will need in order to provide you with an accurate quote. Then I'm going to break down the important printing terms that often trip people up. And then we'll provide examples of an offset printing quote so that you know what to expect, what it looks like. And then I'll talk about some ways, identify some ways that you can save on printing quotes and a checklist for comparing offset printing quotes. So hopefully at the end of this presentation, you are going to feel less overwhelmed, more educated, and more confident when you request and evaluate your overseas printing quotes. Okay, so first off, what are the things that you need in order to even request a printing quote? Every printer is going to need these 10 specifications of your project. They're going to need to know your trim size, which is also known as your book size, the page count, the quantity of your print run, the paper weight for your book, the cover thickness of your book, the paper and cover finishings that you are interested in, the type of ink, whether it's black and white, color, or a combination of both for your pages and cover, the binding that you're choosing, and any additional features that you would like to include in your book, along with the delivery address. And if you're unsure of any of those specifications, a good printer would be happy to jump on a call with you, as we would be, and learn a little bit more about your book and your budget and provide some guidance. So I'm going to break down the 10 specifications that so you have a better idea when you're completing the quote request form. Okay, so for trim size refers to the final size once your book is printed and cut. It's usually measured in inches, width by height. If you are doing a hardcover book, you're going to notice that the cover of your book is slightly larger than the inside pages. Um, and the reason why trim size is actually really important, especially early on in your project, is that if you are choosing to go the print on demand route, they offer limited sizes, pretty standard sizes for your book. So when you're designing your book, you want to make sure you're designing to fit one of those standard sizes if that's the route that you're going. But if you do choose to go the offset printing route, that's us, portrait or landscape is possible, and any size is possible when you go the offset route. The downside or the trade-off is that you need to order 300 to 500 copies of your book because of the custom setup. So with offset printing, custom plates are created for each project, which is time consuming. And so financially, it doesn't make sense for an offset printer or for you for that matter, to print fewer than 300. So if you're looking for onesies or 10 or 50 books, the POD route is the better bet. But if you want a custom size and you're able to print 300 or more books, then you are going to get the top quality book. You're going to get the most consistent color in your book. You're going to be able to do all kinds of custom features, and you'll get the lowest price per book, which means the higher profit margin for you. So we've actually done a webinar on the differences between POD and offset printing, so you can look up that in our YouTube gallery playlist, and there's a lot of different advantages and disadvantages to each. So, but that's just a kind of a quick overview in relation to trim size. When it comes to trim size for board books, you will need an offset printer for board books. I have yet to see a bookstore quality board book produced from a POD printer. Maybe they exist, but I haven't seen that. And in terms of size for your board books, typically they're square and a smaller size because they're geared to babies and toddlers, and they have rounded corners for safety purposes. So deciding your trim early on, because it affects your design, and it also will affect your price, which I'll get into in later on in the presentation. In terms of page count, this is probably the number one mistake we see made on quotes. Your page count is not the number of pages in your Word document. It's the number of pages once you've laid out your book for print. And so when you lay it out, you're going to lay it out in spreads, and one spread equals 2 pages, as you can see from this illustration. When you're offset printing, your page count must be a multiple of 4, and you need to count your blank pages as well. So those are some tips. In terms of page count, we have a great video on our quote request form, but essentially your page one starts on the right-hand side of your inside front cover, and your last page is on the left-hand side of your inside back cover. Paper and board is often, it still confuses me occasionally. Um, so your inside paper is measured in weight, and there's two types of measurements. There's grams per square meter, GMS, which is the weight of a single sheet of paper, and there's pounds, which is used primarily in the US, and it's the weight of 500 sheets of paper. So for a children's picture book, for instance, 80-pound paper is most common, or which translates into 128 GSM paper because it's a little bit heavier, and it just it doesn't bleed, and it's a nicer feel for a children's book. In terms of cover board, it's measured in thickness and points. For instance, a paperback book would be a 10-point cover stock, whereas a hardcover book would be an 80-point to 120-point cover stock. So if you if you are confused, just talk to your printer, and they will be able to guide you in terms of the best weight and thickness for your project, because it can be a little confusing. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what of how the measurements work, because you're going to need these specs when you're requesting your print quote. Paper coating is also required when you're completing most print request forms. You have two choices. You can go with a matte coating or a gloss coating. Both are great, and it doesn't really affect the price much. It's just more of the look and finish of your book. So a matte finish is a slightly softer texture. It has more of a smooth finish. For book covers and board books, a matte finish might show fingerprints a little bit more, but it wipes off fine. Gloss is just that. It's a shiny finish. It reflects the light, and your colorful illustrations will be shiny, and it wipes very nicely on a board. Every printer will have their own type of paper. For us, these are the paper choices that we offer. We offer a white or a cream paper. You can choose to go with an FSC, a Forest Stewardship Council paper, and that basically means that the company that harvested your paper did so in a responsible manner, that did not affect wildlife, and that they abide by proper forest management principles, and you're able to have the FSC badge on your book, which is great because it shows your customers that your book was produced by, responsibly, and it's a nice way of differentiating your book. So you've often probably seen this FSC badge on packaging and other printed products. It can be an FSC recycled paper badge or a mixed badge, and if you choose FSC paper, you'll have your own certification number, and we'll include that badge for free on your copyright page for the back of your book. Bamboo paper has become very popular with many of our clients. Bamboo is a fast-growing grass, so it can be harvested in 3 years versus 40 years like a tree. It's very efficient at sequestering carbon dioxide and can be recycled like tree paper. So that's another option that you have. And if you choose bamboo paper, again, we'll put that badge on your book. Recycled board, we strongly encourage our clients to choose Esca board. It's a board that is manufactured in Holland by a company that's blazing the trail in terms of sustainable production practices. So it's eco-friendly, it's recyclable, but it also is just a superior product. It's a wonderful product. It lays flat and stays flat. It doesn't warp. It's a little bit more premium price than regular board, but in our mind, it's worth it. So it's worth considering. And again, if you choose any eco-friendly materials, we put a free badge on your book so that your customers are aware that you chose those materials. A great way to differentiate your book as well. And just a couple other notes about board. So you have two choices with board. You have a gray board or a white board. So gray board is pretty standard for hardcover books, and it can be used for board books. Basically, it has like a gray edging. A white board is the same thickness as the gray board, but it's a bit premium because it gives a more finished look. It has white exposed edging, which is quite nice for board books. So I just wanted to pull the terms that we've learned about so far together in an example. So I've picked one of our clients' landscape children's books, and her book, she chose to, her cover board, she chose to go with a 100-pound gloss coated paper wrapped around a 120-point Esca board. She chose to go with a bamboo paper, an 80-pound bamboo gloss coated paper, and her end sheet is a 105-pound matte bamboo paper. Now, at this point, I also want to just mention to you that when you do print with an overseas printer, you in the US anyway, you do need to include the country of origin. So you will need to put somewhere on your book that the book was produced in China. So oftentimes we will combine that with the eco-friendly um, badges, materials that you've chose for your book, and you can put that on the back of your book or on the copyright page, just as long as it's visible somewhere on your book. Another factor that you'll need and that influences price is your ink. We only use safe soya ink, so when you're comparing quotes, it's important to ask what type of ink is being used because you'll want to use a non-phthalate, lead-free ink in your book, especially if it's a children's book. So black and white is obviously the lowest cost for both POD or offset printing. But most children's picture books, board books have color. So you'll need to design your files in CMYK for printing. There's a good chance that you are designing your files with RGB because that's the format that's used for viewing products, your files on screen. So you're going to need to convert those to CMYK before you send them to your printer. Some printers may accept the RGB format, but just let you know that when they convert it to CMYK for printing, the colors can be a little bit different. So our advice would be that you convert and have a look at how the colors look, and you can make any adjustments and then send the files in. The more color pages that you have in your book, the higher the cost, obviously. Bookbinding. Most hardcover children's books are Smythe sewn. It's very durable binding. Basically, groups of paper are folded into signatures and then stitched together with thread to form a book block that's then sewn into the cover. So you can tell if a book is Smythe sewn when you open it up and you can see the threads in the margins. There are other types of binding that include wire and spiral. We do a lot of those with our planners. Perfect bound is quite common with POD and with paperbacks, but the majority of our hardcover books are Smythe sewn. Now, the last thing that you're going to need to know, other than the delivery address, is any features that you want to have included in your book. And if you go the POD route, you're going to have pretty limited choice in features, but if you do the offset route, you can really get creative. You can add dust jackets and you can add a linen cover to your hardcover. You can do foil decorating. You can even get into some really fun designs like this board book that we created for an ad agency, where the boards kind of mix and match the pages. You can get into some unique decorating on the spine, like this emboss and deboss title on the spine of that book. You can even get into some innovative, get really creative with your designs. We designed this board book with wire binding, which is kind of unusual, but it's won many awards, UK awards for its design. In terms of ink, we have, I mentioned the safe soy ink. We actually worked with Sherry Fink, a longtime beloved client of ours, on designing a soy-based glow-in-the-dark ink in response to her demands. And we love challenging projects. We'll do them. It's really the sky's the limit with us and with offset. I can't speak for other offset printers, but we really love the challenge of working with authors and clients and coming up with unique designs and elements that differentiate their books. Another cool feature with an offset print is doing edge printing. So you can continue the design on your front cover onto the edges of your book, or you could do gilding in metallic or other colors that really pop when they're on the shelf. For board books, you can do all kinds of fun things like cutouts that are very interactive for kids. You can add soundboards, you can do pop-ups and fold-outs. You could even do padded covers. We've been getting into doing, we do a lot of padded covers for board books, but you could even add a padded cover to a children's picture book or a planner. You can add tactile textures, neat fabrics and materials and mirror pages to your book to make them more sensory and more interactive for kids. We do a lot of book boxes for clients that have multiple titles that they're producing. Branded mailers are really popular right now, where you can do your own custom branding on the outside of your gift box that you're sending out to clients for online orders. There's so much that you can do. If you'd like to see some other examples of projects we've printed, follow us on our Instagram at Board Book Printing or at MCRL Print. We've got lots of more videos and examples in there. Okay, now let's get to actually looking at a print quote. So this is an example of a print quote that we did for our hardcover children's book. And there's a couple things I want to point out. Every printer will have their own quote format, but chances are they look pretty similar to this. The things that you're going to want to look for are the description. So you want to make sure that the book that your quote reflects the specifications that you entered in the quote form. And then just double check the finish size, double check the number of pages is correct, the binding, the inside paper. You want to make sure that the printer is identifying the exact paper that's being used. So if you chose FSC, make sure it's itemized in your quote. Looking at the color, make sure that that's reflecting the color pages that you have. If it's 4x4, all full color, or if there's only certain pages that have color, because with offset printing, you are only charged for the pages that have color. So if that's one way that you could save a little bit of money is to be conscious of the pages that have color on them. You want to look at your end pages and make sure that that is a correct reflection of what your files are. Look at the cover type, printing options, thickness, but just double check the specs and make sure they reflect what you're looking for, and then any other features that are added. Now, it's really important to include the shipping address that you want it shipped to. For our purposes, we include shipping in your quote, your quote and we quote per book and include that shipping. So your shipping address really does have an impact on your price. So make sure that is the correct address. It can go to two addresses if you want. There is a little extra fee for the second address or to a third-party fulfillment, but just make sure you have the correct address. And then obviously the quantity of books that you're looking for. And with offset printing, as I mentioned before, the higher the quantity of your book, the less the price per book. You get to take advantage of economies of scale. So you can see a huge price difference here. So with 500 units, the unit price of this book is $8.26. But once they increase the quantity to 1,000 units, the price per book halves. So that's definitely an advantage of going the offset route, because with POD, it doesn't matter how many quantity, the quantity doesn't really influence the price very much at all. One little point here, we include everything in our quote, and I can't speak for other offset printers, so we have a checklist for you at the end of this presentation, but we include your bound proof. So that you can kind of flip through and verify that everything looks correct before we send it to print. We include the printing, assembly, and delivery to your location. Here's an example of a board book quote. It looks pretty similar to the children's book quote. But one thing that I want to just point out here is sometimes, depending on the launch date or the need for your book, you may need your books faster. And if that's the case, we do shipment by air. So you could split your shipment and send like 300 copies by air and 700 copies by sea if you needed books more quickly. Air is obviously more expensive than sea, but depending on your quantity, it can be an affordable and useful option. And again, as the quantity increases, you're seeing a dramatic decrease in price. When you're looking at your overseas offset print, there are a few things that you really want to pay attention to. And the first is the small print. Read the small print. You want to make sure that they've itemized any extras at all. So for our purposes, we include everything in the quote, but not everyone does. So you want to just make sure that they have, if there is anything excluded, that you read that small print and are able to compare apples to apples. You want to make sure that about the artwork and any requirements, that specific requirements that they have for their artwork, the timeline. We always include an estimated timeline once you sign off on your project, and it's usually, in more cases than not, your books arrive within a week of the estimated timeline that we've given you. The other thing looking at is the validity of your quote, like how many days is it valid for? Because many offset quotes do expire just because shipping prices can change. So ours is valid for 20 days. So that's something to just look at. But bottom line, read the small print, because you want to make sure that um, that that you've you're aware of everything that um, is or isn't included in the quote. And not all printing quotes are created equal. It's just as important to know what is included in your quote as what isn't included in your quote. So in our as we strongly recommend that you get a hard copy. We include a hard copy proof, as I mentioned, in all of our quotes, but not all printers do. And even if they don't, uh, it's worth the extra cost to get a hard copy print of your book before they send it to production. And the reason for that is that you can catch any margin or layout issues. It's nice you can show your friends, family, people that you trust can go through, and you can spot any changes that need to be made before your print run starts. So very, very important. The other advantage is from a business perspective, now you have a hard copy proof of your book that you can start photographing and using in your crowdfunding campaigns and pre-launch marketing. So it's just a fantastic business tool to have. Another thing to really look for when you're evaluating your quote is the delivery address. We quote delivery to your final destination, whether it be a third-party warehouse or your doorstep. Many offset printers will just quote to port, which means that they get your book to the closest port, but then you're on the hook to get ground transportation to your door, and that can be very expensive. So make sure it's the delivery is directly to your door, or that they've included a price that for that delivery to your door. So you're not surprised when it lands and you've got a big invoice that you weren't expecting. DDP, delivered duty paid, is a service that we use, so there are no surprise costs or customs headaches for you. Not all offset printers do DDP, but it is it's just peace of mind. It means that you're not, especially now with with all of the uncertainty, it's better for us to absorb that cost and risk than you. So there's no customs hassles. You get one clear upfront price, which we include in the quote, and it's smooth, worry-free delivery because your books arrive paid in full and there are no surprise invoices. Word of caution, beware when you're looking at quotes of only looking at price. A lowball or outlier quote could mean that the printer is excluding the things that I've talked about earlier, and then adding those fees on later. So just a word of warning. The other thing is that it's important to look at all the factors that go into choosing a printer. We strongly recommend, it might sound weird, but we do recommend that our clients get 2 or 3 other quotes so that they can compare. You can compare price, but you should also compare the human support. So are the printers that you've chosen, are you able to pick up the phone and talk to someone? If you're new and this is your first time printing, having someone that you can ask questions to and that can provide some guidance and recommendations could be huge to you. So, do they have a person that you can call, and are they responsive? Is the printer managing your project and keeping you informed throughout the pre-press, production, shipping and delivery stages of your book? Are they managing that, or are you having to communicate with the printer directly in China and trying to figure out where your product is in the production cycle? We handle all of that product management communication with clients. Does the printer have supply chain and customs expertise? This is more important than ever, um, given the state of the world right now. So, books are not subject, board books, children's books are not subject to additional customs, but anything could change. So you want to deal with someone that has an expert that's up to date on all of the latest regulations. Jamie is our VP of logistics, and she's phenomenal. She is super knowledgeable knowledgeable. And so important to ask those questions about the in-house expertise. Also, to have relationships with freight forwarders because the better relationships you have, the more volume that your printer puts through, the higher priority that your products are getting into a carton and getting shipped to North America. So, in terms of estimating timelines, you can be a lot more accurate with your timelines when you have really good relationships with your freight forwarders. And then finally, do the printers that you're looking at have good referrals from other clients and good client reviews? So go on Reddit and Facebook and Google them and find out what kind of response, what kind of rating that they're getting from clients. Now, here are some ways that you can save on your printing quote. The first way that you can save is your trim size. So the least amount of paper waste that your book has, the less expensive your book will be. So obviously the most economical size is an 8.5 by 11. The next would be like a 7 by 10 size book. Another way you can save is to print more, as I've mentioned. With offset, the more you print, the lower your cost per book, and that means a higher profit margin for you. You can also save on pages, page count. So when you lay out your book, other ways that do you need all of, other ways that you can maybe combine pages or be efficient with your page count. With offset, you need a multiple of 4, but it can be any multiple of 4. Some POD printers, I believe, have like a minimum page count that can be quite high, so that would influence your price. But yeah, just be conscious of your pages, number of pages. Your color. If you are printing with an offset printer, you are only charged for the pages that have color, whereas with POD, if any page on your book has color, then you're charged the full color price. So one way you could save is maybe looking at other ways that you can be efficient and not use color on some pages and still not affect the quality of your book and reading experience. Fifth way that you can save is by hiring a book formatter. So your illustrator is not necessarily experienced with print production and print formatting. So you can save a lot of time, money, and tears by working with an experienced print designer. We have a list of excellent print designers who we've worked with and clients have recommended to us on our Hire Pro page on our website. So strongly recommend it's the little bit of money you pay a bit more for a book formatter, but at the end of the day, you're going to have a quality book, a bookstore quality book that you can really be proud of, and you can have peace of mind knowing that it was formatted properly and save yourself a lot of possible rework. The sixth way you can save is by printing multiple titles. So bundling your books together. If you have multiple titles, then there are significant savings in terms of shipping. So those are 6 ways that you can save money on your printing quote. And here's your checklist. So when you have 2 or 3 printing quotes to compare, walk through this quick checklist, and we hope that will help you compare apples to apples in making your decision. So first of all, are there samples available from each of the printers so that you can verify the quality of the books that they print? Is there a printing expert you can talk to? Someone who's responsive? If they're responsive to your questions before you've signed off on the quote, that's a good indicator of how they will be after you've signed. Do they speak your language, and are they in your time zone? So can you talk to someone during business hours, and is it clear communication so that you can, because there's a lot of detail and you want to make sure that you're able to communicate with someone in your language and that understands what you're trying to say. Is the rep knowledgeable and able to answer your questions effectively? Are they able to review your files for any printing issues? Because many printers have like an automated tool where you just upload your files and those files are automatically sent to the printer and printed. We have our VP of print production has an eagle eye, and she reviews every file before we print. So she'll identify if there's any issues, printing issues with your files, not grammar or content, but if there are any like margin or any issues that she sees, she'll address that so that you can fix them before they go to print. Yeah, and just do you have peace of mind? Do you have comfort that the printer knows, is experienced and that you can work well with them, a good relationship with them? because you want to, ultimately you want to have a printing partner that you can do multiple runs with your book with the same printer. Is the quote that they provide clear and easy to understand? Does it itemize it with a description of the materials? Are they able to print all the desired features that you want in your book? Do they provide a hard copy proof versus just a digital PDF proof? Are there extra fees listed, or do you have to really try and pull it out of them? You want them to be transparent so that you know exactly what is and isn't included. And do they provide an all-in ultimate, do they provide an all-in price per book, or is it easy for you to get that information so that you are comparing our all-in price per book with someone else? Um, uh, will the printers handle the customs duty taxes paperwork? Is it DDP to final destination? Will your printer provide an accurate timeline? I can't tell you how many times we've had clients say that they've gotten quotes from printers, but they will refuse to give a timeline. That's a bit of a red flag right there. You want a printer that has the relationships with freight forwarders, and that they can give you a pretty accurate timeline. Is is the printer able to give you pictures or videos of your book coming off the press, which is really great for marketing? Are the Google reviews, Reddit posts, Facebook positive? Those are all really important things to look at when you are evaluating your quotes. So thank you very much for your time. Hopefully that was helpful. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to book a call with our printing team, or to send us an email, and we would be happy to answer your questions, as well as give you a quote. In terms of MCRL printing, we do all genres of books, children's books, board books, card sets, planners, journals, books from art books to cookbooks to paperback and yearbooks. We do educational kits. If you need product pulled together from different suppliers, we'll kit those and label them for you. We do card sets, board games, all kinds of packaging, gift boxes, telescopic book box sets, drawer books, mailer box. Basically, if you can think it, we can print it. And in terms of looking at our client reviews and testimonials, if you scroll through our Google reviews, you'll see mentions to our team. So we do provide one-on-one support. Our team, you'll see mentions of Jamie's name, and Carol and Fab and Taylor. We really get to know every client that we work with, and we really want everyone to have a positive printing experience. And there's no stupid questions, and we're always happy to answer questions at any point before you've signed a quote and after. You'll see references to their excellent quality. So we are very detail oriented, and we want to be as proud of the product that we print as you are. And you'll see lots of mentions of our competitive all-in quotes. It really gives authors peace of mind to know that everything is included, and they are not going to be surprised with any additional fees, because not many printers will do that. And then you'll see reference to our eco-friendly printing materials, that we do have quite a large selection of paper and board and ink. And we do work with Trees for the Future. So every year we plant trees with Trees to the Future to offset a bit of our carbon emissions. And this is just a wonderful nonprofit group that plants garden forests in some of the world's most impoverished communities, giving people a livelihood, jobs, and helping our planet. So it's just a little bit of information about us. Thanks again for tuning in, and feel free to get in touch with us at mcrlprinting.com. Take care.